Hi, I'm Bill Patrick. The program you're about to see is part of a vintage series called Car and Track, which was originally produced during the first half of the 1970s. Before we begin the show, though, a brief program note. Using as many as 8 cameras to shoot a single event, Car and Track captured some of the great NASCAR competitions of the era, one race at a time. Over the course of some 80 episodes through 6 seasons, series producer and host Bud Lindemann lovingly documented a unique era in American motor racing. While the race action contained in the series remains timeless, the program itself has not dated quite so gracefully. Although the years have not been overly kind to Bud's decidedly low-key introductions and interviews, we believe them to be an integral part of this one-of-a-kind series. So please, stay with us now as Speed Vision presents a rare slice of 1970s Americana, Car and Track.
Hi there. On this show, it's another twin bill. First off, from Sandusky Speedway in Sandusky, Ohio. We caught the opening show of the season, featuring the Super Modifieds. And if this show is any indication of things to come at that track, you want to pay them a visit, because it was sensational. Our second event happened at the Alabama International Speedway with all of NASCAR's greatest on hand for one of the fastest 500-milers on the circuit. Our road test car of the week is the CUDA, and not too bad either. This show is jammed with excitement, and we'll meet you for part 1 of it at Sandusky in 1 minute. Some of the most thrilling races in the country are held on the small half-mile tracks like this one in Sandusky, Ohio. The Super Modifieds are a specialty in the Midwest. The rule book for Supers is very thin. Weight is at a minimum, with virtually no restrictions on the power plant. The top Modifieds and drivers converged on Sandusky Speedway for this first Sunday of the season. With no self-starter, the Modifieds needed a push. They were on the track in a hurry. As per usual, the fastest cars were lined up at the rear of the field. It's called an inverted start. Jack Houseworth, driving the 3R, is on the pole with Mark Reed in number 43 alongside. Fastest qualifier Bob Seelman in 74 and Jim Linder in number 3 are at the rear of the field. Out of the 4th turn, the green snaps down and the whole pack snarls into the first turn. Wild one in turn 3 started with a spin out of John Theodoro. Then Bob Seelman's steering locks up, and he goes off the track along with Tom Couples and Phil Wendt. The track is cleaned up in a hurry. 16 cars remain out of the original 20 starters. They line up for a complete 2 abreast restart, and here they come out of the 4th turn. The green flag waves, and they're underway once again. Houseworth leads them into turn 1. 43 Mark Reed is second with Phil Wendt third. They pour through the turns 2 and 3 abreast. These Supers have unreal acceleration, and the faster cars at the rear of the field start to move up. Houseworth in the 3R car is still the leader. 54 Phil Wendt has taken over second with Bob Hunter third. But car number 3 with Jim Linder aboard is coming on from the rear of the field. Bob Hunter in number 39 is crowding Houseworth through every turn. Phil Wendt still running third. Down the back chute, Hunter passes the 3R car and now owns the lead. But watch those hot dogs in the rear thread their way through the pack. Number 61, Paul Baumauer, has moved into second place. His car is handling well. He begins challenging Hunter on the high side. Baumauer jabs it hard down the front chute and entering turn 1 blows Hunter off on the outside to take the lead. Jim Linder is driving the blue number 3, a sprint car body with a wing on top. He's 5 now, and watch him go. In a half a lap, Linder has moved all the way up to second place, the hard way, on the outside. '61, Paul Baumauer is still the boy to catch. Jim Linder is second. '54, Bill Wendt running third. Nick Rowe is back in the fourth spot. Linder's caught Baumauer, but can he pass him? He works Paul over high and low in every corner. In the fourth pocket, Linder drops a wheel on the inside of Baumauer and powers his sprinter through to take the lead. And he came all the way from the rear of the field to do it. Uh-oh, watch number 6, he's high. Tom Couples is the driver, and he apparently lost control entering turn 1 as he screamed off the track and finally came to a stop in the adjoining field. They left the car there and restarted the race 1 lap later. Jimmy Linder is really moving now. He's going to run away and hide. Baumauer is second, but losing ground. The white flag, 1 more lap, and Linder goes to the bank. His car is working beautifully and sounds stronger on every tour of the oval. Here he is out of the fourth turn, and the checkered flag snaps down on Jimmy Linder's number 3. Second place goes to Paul Baumauer. 19, George Friend takes third, and 83, Wayne Landon finishes fourth in a good season opener at a well-run track. The Cuda is Mopar's #1 pony car offering. In the past, it's always been a strong performer. And while this latest version, due to government restrictions, doesn't carry the wallop of its predecessors, it's still not too shabby a machine. Anyway, here it is. You be the judge. This latest version of Chrysler's pony car has received very little change. The most significant news being the discontinuation of its 6-cylinder engine. This 2-door hardtop is the only body style, and there are 2 models, the Barracuda and our tester, the Cuda. Out of the hole, our 340 cubic incher produced a 0 to 30 run in 3.6 seconds. With the tires hot, the dig was better, and we ET'd the 0 to 50 mile an hour run in 5.9. Emission controls retarded our acceleration runs, and when we brought the Cuda out of the hole for the 3rd time, it took 9.8 seconds to reach 70 miles per hour. The Cuda performed well through the pylon courses. Our car had the special performance axle package with a sure grip heavy-duty 3.55 rear end. The front end stuck and the rear tracked well. At 45 miles per hour, body lean was not excessive and recovery was good. The car did well on the braking course. From 30 miles an hour, 39 feet. The Cuda came with power-assisted discs up front, drums in the rear. With hot brakes, the pedal started to fade, and the 50 mile an hour stop took 101 feet. In high-speed panic stops, nosedive was minimal. There was considerable heat buildup, but most stops were made in a good straight line with some rear axle hop. From 70, it skidded 202 feet before the stop. In high-speed cornering, the rear end seemed light and skitterish. We lacked the power to bring it through the corners with the throttle as we did a couple of years ago. However, stability was excellent, as you can see by this action freeze through a difficult reverse camber turn at 70 miles an hour. Our tester wore the F70/14 tires with a special suspension package that includes heavy-duty torsion bars, heavy-duty rear springs, and front and rear sway bars. With the beefier leg muscles, the ride factor is not too comfortable, but this could be sacrificed for the better handling and cornering capabilities. Basically, the Barracuda is the standard version, while this Cuda is the sporty performance model. Exterior cosmetics can be purchased as an option to make both cars look very much alike. The difference, for the most part, lies underneath the skin. As far as the sporty compacts go, we rated the Cuda above average. However, the standard model could be considered a better buy. They call it AIMS, but to use an abbreviated form on a track like Alabama International Motor Speedway just doesn't seem right. Almost disrespectful. And if there's any speedway that has the respect of drivers and spectators alike, it's this one. The fastest, most awesome racing plant in the world. And for this past Winston 500, the arena played host to the finest late model stocks in the nation, piloted by the #1 speed merchants in the business. It truly represented the ultimate challenge. This track is the Adrenaline Razor, 2.66 miles long with 33-degree bank turns, a 6,000-foot back straightaway. The infield alone consumes 315 acres, large enough to hold 31 Super Bowl fields. Undisputedly, the largest and fastest racing and testing facility in the world. Every race here is shrouded in a cocoon of tension and anxiety for the drivers and spectators alike. 60 of the finest late model stock racers in the country pour out of pit row and onto the track for this third annual running of the Winston 500. In these cars are perhaps the coolest, bravest, most professional group of drivers ever to assemble at any speed arena in the nation. Buddy Baker was the fastest qualifier at 193.435 miles per hour and starts on the pole in the Dodge number 71. 21 David Pearson in the Mercury starts alongside. Richard Petty and Cale Yarborough have the second row. Then Bobby Allison, Gordy Johncock, Bobby Isaac, the biggest names in the business, bring them down for the green flag, and suddenly the Alabama air rings with the sound of power. Petty and Baker duel it out through turn 2 with Allison and Yarborough right behind them. Entering turn 3, Pearson slips through on the inside and takes over the lead. Onto the tri-oval, Baker notches down a groove, moves up alongside David as they fly into turn 1. Buddy takes over the number 1 spot. Allison, Yarborough, and Petty form a tight trio chasing Baker and Pearson. They're flat out now, and we're just clocked into the first turn at 196 miles per hour. Two cars head for the pits early for a change in rubber compound. Meanwhile, Pearson slacks off the pace, and Cale and Bobby Allison move up to work on Baker. Buddy Baker and Cale Yarborough, like they're glued together. It looks like a rerun of the Daytona 500. Allison back in the third spot looking for a hole. Uh-oh, look out, on the backstretch. This looks like a bet. A whole pack of cars went into that cloud of dust, and no one is coming out into the third turn. When the dust and smoke cleared, this was the first clean shot our cameraman could get. The backstretch looks like a junkyard. It all started when Ramo Stott blew an engine coming into turn 2. Wendell Scott spun out behind him, and both cars screamed onto the infield dirt. Suddenly, there was a solid blanket of smoke and dust. Like our backstretch camera, the drivers could see nothing. They spun in the oil slick, crashed into the wall, and hurtled into each other. At 195 miles per hour, and with no visibility whatsoever, it was a nightmare, and the worst accident in NASCAR history. Richard Petty's crew discovered a damaged crankcase and pushed the Dodge into the garage. Here's a look at some of the other machinery, completely totaled out. 85 is Ronnie Daniels' Chevy. 48 is the Mercury driven by James Hilton. Bill Ward's Chevy, number 82. 88 is Ron Keselowski. The damage is unbelievable, like Bobby Mossgrover's Ford, number 53. The front end of Bobby Allison's Monte Carlo disintegrated. Buddy Baker's Dodge, dragged behind the wall. And here's Cale Yarborough's Chevy 11. Front end, gone. Car after car is towed behind the wall, with an average cost of $20,000 per racer. This accident is not only the worst, but perhaps the most expensive in the history of NASCAR. Several drivers received lacerations. Earl Brooks had a fractured hand. Joe Frazan suffered shoulder injuries. Slick Gardner, a knee injury. However, due to the rigid NASCAR safety regulations, particularly those concerning roll cages, every driver got out and walked away under his own power. And this in itself is some kind of miracle. With Petty's car repaired, he goes back on the track. But Cale Yarborough and several other drivers will be spectators for the rest of this one. That mayhem on the back chute claimed 17 cars and put the caution flag out for 1 hour, 5 minutes. 37 laps were run under the yellow. With the track cleaned up and all wrecked cars behind the wall, number 61, Clarence Lovell, and 14, Cuckoo Marlin, lead the remainder of the field down for the restart. There's the green, and they're underway once again. Into the first turn, Clarence Lovell comes up with the lead. Cecil Gordon has the second spot. Now, Cease Gordon slips past Lovell to take the lead. Bobby Isaac is back in the fourth spot and starting to move. Here comes Isaac in the number 15 Ford on the outside of Lovell and going for the big one. Through the deuce turn, Bobby Isaac does it the hard way on the outside. He now owns the lead. Gordon second, Lovell third. Now Petty pulls in with oil pressure sagging. When the crew check it, they find a broken pump and park it behind the wall. Bobby's lead is short-lived. His car begins smoking, and Darrell Waltrip in the Mercury, number 95, has taken over the lead. He's a hard charger and considered to be one of the most promising rookies on the NASCAR scene. Again, Talladega takes its toll with another blown engine, this time on car number 40, a Ford driven by Ulrich. With oil on the track, the yellow flag waves, and pit row looks like the place to go. Waltrip and Pearson are first in, but Darrell's crew is no match for the incomparable Wood brothers, and David streaks out first. Watch the rest of this action. crew discover a blown piston, and Darrell puts the Mercury behind the wall. With the oil cleaned off the track and all cars serviced, the remainder of this 60-car field comes down for the green flag and another restart. Into the first turn, David Pearson edges out the competition to grab the lead, with Donnie Allison trying to close on him. David and the big Mercury begin to stretch the pack now. With so many of the top cars involved in that first accident, Pearson's competition is definitely limited. There goes another one. With 3 laps to go, Vic Parsons, driving the Mercury, number 45, blew the engine, entering turn 1, spun in the oil, lost it, went high to the wall, and back down onto the infield grass. The caution flag is out, and it looks like it'll last for the duration. Pearson heads under the white and yellow with 1 more lap, and he owns another big one. David is second only to the pace car as he follows it down the tri-oval and under the checkered flag. Even though the race finished under the yellow, Pearson had little or no competition, having a full lap lead over second-place contender Donnie Allison. Third went to number 72, Benny Parsons. Clarence Lovell took fourth, and Cecil Gordon fifth. The race lasted 3 hours, 47 minutes. There were only 4 caution flags, but they consumed a total of 54 laps. The purse was over $159,000. David's share was $25,845. Tomorrow, many car owners will start to rebuild from scratch. Mr. Cool, and he'll go fishing.